Hi guys, welcome to another video. I'm happy that you guys have tuned in. Thank you for all those that have subscribed. For all those who are watching but have not yet decided, stay tuned. And I'm hoping and praying that as we go along, you get to understand and know me better, then you will make that decision to subscribe, stick, and stay with us. Oh God, I've been so good, and I'm so grateful. First of all, let us take a minute and say thank you, Jesus. Oh, thank you, Father. Yeah, because I felt the warm reception that you guys have been giving me, and I'm grateful, and I'm praying, and I'm trusting that the Lord will continue to inspire me to write these stories, build that community, and be a force to reckon with. All right, so thank you guys. I noticed that some persons have been texting me one away and saying good job, Michelle, keep up the good job, and what have you. But I just want to encourage, and I thank you by the way, but I just want to encourage you guys that those comments that you are sending via WhatsApp and Messenger, to text them under the video. Yeah man, text them under the video as you watch them, because it does help the channel. Right, so of course Mrs. Jones was in a dilemma in the last video, so today we want to find out what it is that she was in a bind about. Why is it that she find it so intimidating to relate this news to Ben. And for those who are just coming in, we are reading the book called The Promise, that is originally written by Mom. So let's get into it and see what Mr. Ben is up to and what it is that Mrs. Jones is so intimidated by to deliver this news. All right, so let's get into it. 15 minutes later, I'm here, said Ben, with his mouth filled with pancake. Son, really? You could have waited until you have finished eating, said Mrs. Jones. Is there something on your mind, son? Ben began to fidget. Auntie, you have been more than a mother to me, and I love you more than words are allowing me to express. But lately, I have been feeling it's time for me to leave the village. It's my dream to attend a university overseas, whether it be England or the United States. Now, I know you and Uncle have no problem to help me to do so. But like I have said, I have expressed repeatedly, I can't take your money because you both have done so much already, and my pride just will not allow it. I know you both are not pleased with me refusing the help, but it sometimes seems, it's hard. It's something I must do. Also, I made a promise years ago to myself not to die here in this village, said Ben. Shh, whispered Mrs. Jones. She placed a finger on Ben's lips. Now, son, it's my time to speak. Try as you may, be proud or not, there is no way you are going to leave here for university empty-handed. 14 years ago, before your parents died, their dying wish was for me to take care of you, and on your 21st birthday to hand over the keys to this box. I know tomorrow you'll be 21. However, does a day really make any difference? Said Mrs. Jones and smiled. She handed Ben the box and wished him happy birthday on the behalf of his late parents. Ben pulled open the box. He took out the content and his eyes widened. Nothing could have prepared him for what he had found inside. Ben was dumbfounded. He was flabbergasted by the gift his parents had ensured was left for him. He finally looked over to Mrs. Jones and tears began to run down his face. But Ben tried to speak and words failed him. She reached over and hugged him. "It's your season, son. Reach forth and embrace it," said Mrs. Jones. It took a while for her to comfort Ben. "This is millions of dollars in bonds," Ben said repeatedly. "How? When did this happen?" Ben asked. "Your mother was a wise woman, son. It turns out that it was due to the negligence of Bob's corporation and their improper way of getting rid of the waste and poisonous chemicals have caused many of their workers to fall ill. As a result, all affected persons have filed a lawsuit against the company. It took a while, but the affected workers had won the case. Therefore, the money your parents received helped clear up their medical debts, and the remaining surplus your mom left in my care to invest. Over the years, the investment was a success, as I promise. Your uncle and I, we invested the best way we saw fit. We put it aside until now for you to start a fresh life and complete your studies and accomplish your dreams. So you see, Ben, in life, if God is making you wait, then there must be a purpose and a season and the reason," said Mrs. Jones. "So wait a minute, Auntie. They could not, did not find it fit to take better care of themselves in order to at least live to see their only child pass the worst? Now what? I should just ride off in the sunset and be happy that they have sacrificed themselves to death to leave me wealth? For what? A better future? Can't you see how morbid this situation is?" said Ben, and shook his head in wonder. "Yes, God is sovereign, we know that. But I am having a hard time believing all of this is His plan, Auntie. Are you saying that God orchestrated this whole thing?" said Ben. Mrs. Jones reached forward for Ben. He gave a nervous chuckle while he drew back, looked her in the face. "This is too much. It's just too much," said Ben and left the room. "It wasn't meant of such," whispered Mrs. Jones as she leaned back against the cushions in the coach. Mrs. Jones knew only too well that Ben missed his parents, and the hurt he feels led to him lashing out. She has spent her adult life making her own choices. She has considered herself the luckiest of female because her family had allowed her to do so. Perhaps that was why it felt so unbearable to force Ben in a path before he was ready, or maybe it was the way he said it. It made her felt strange, although it was not anything more than she already knew. Good morning, dear. How did it go with Ben? So sorry I wasn't around yesterday to assist, said Mr. Jones. Would you care for a cup of tea? Asked Mrs. Jones. Yes, please. Just a cup of coffee. I have an early patient this morning. I will grab something to eat when I reach the clinic, said Mr. Jones stiffly. It went that bad? Mr. Jones inquired. He was never the most talkative husband, so she appreciated him trying to have a conversation. She looked over to him, staring in his clear brown eyes for a moment. Before her gaze landed on his lips, she reached forward and kissed him. He tightened his grip, reassured her it will all work out. Said Ben as he cleared his throat and entered the room. Good to see you this morning, son. Happy birthday, by the way, said Mr. Jones. Thank you, Uncle. Aren't you running a bit late? Asked Ben. A matter of fact, I am. See you at your usual hour, son, he said and left for the clinic. Would you care for tea or coffee, son? Asked Mrs. Jones. I would be happy to have a cup of tea, Auntie, he replied as he cleared his throat, then tugged at his collar as if it had suddenly gotten too tight. I must apologize for my behavior last night, he said gently. I have no right losing my temper the way I did. You have taught me better. I am sorry, said Ben. Mrs. Jones looked him in the eyes as she nodded, accepting his apology. I have been thinking, what are we doing for your birthday today, by the way? Asked Mrs. Jones. Auntie, you know I am not fussy about my birthday, so a simply homemade meal will do for me, answered Ben, as he recoiled, expecting to be hit. I need to get started on that cake, said Mrs. Jones. Ben was visibly startled by her sudden turn of conversation, so he nodded quickly and watched her leave the room. 20 minutes later, Ben was sitting under his favorite mango tree by the river, once more trapped in his thoughts. I know I should not have been so angry about the inheritance my parents left for me. In fact, that was brilliant of my mom, coming up with that plan. Nevertheless, I wish they were here. I miss them all so much. I can hardly remember what they look like. Ben thought about it for a moment, and suddenly he felt tears running down his face. Good God! Exclaimed Ben, and chuckled. This is why I can't stand my birthday. Every year it comes around and I'm a mess. In order to relieve the stress, Ben took off his clothes and dived in the river butt naked. Ben came up for air as he heard something and saw a shadow briskly move behind the mango tree. Is there someone there? Asked Ben. No one answered. You know, I saw you, so you can at least pass me my pants, please, Ben asked. She stepped towards him and handed his pants. He grabbed it. His eyes hit hers, and she realized she has been staring at him, mesmerized by the structure of his build. Her lips parted with surprise. She wanted to look away, but she felt compelled to continue staring. she stammered while her face turned red of having been caught. But somehow she could not move. She stood there, transfixed, breathless, as a strange heat spread across them. Ben was 6 feet away at the very least, and it felt as if they were touching. Ben cleared his throat nervously. "Can you please turn around? I need to get dressed," she thought. She heard him whispered, still transfixed. She saw his lips form the words, but not actually heard his voice. Then suddenly the moment was past, and she quickly turned her back, allowing him to get dressed. For a moment, Ben said nothing. And then finally, he walked over to her. "I am Ben. I hope I didn't scare you earlier. Usually, no other person would have come by the river this time of the morning. Hence my disposition," Ben exclaimed. "No, no. I wasn't afraid, just surprised. And frankly, you have no need to apologize to me. And by the way, I am Tessa. I live a few hours down from that street out there," she said. And Ben looked into her beautiful brown eyes that held him captive. "Anyone ever told you you have a beautiful smile?" said Ben. "More time than I care to remember. But for some reason, it feels good hearing it from you," replied Tessa. Hearing she got that compliment a lot upset Ben. He knew it was silly of him since they had only met a minute ago. Nevertheless, he felt annoyed with himself, not being able to control his feelings and what he was experiencing. Dear God, she's gorgeous. Simply breathtaking. The thought brought a smile to his lips. Meanwhile, Tessa leaned forward to remove a piece of dry leaf that was tucked in his hair. Ben's heart began to race. It felt as if it was about to jump out of his chest, not able to control the intensity of it all. He leaned in and kissed her on the lips. She somehow felt the strength to pull back and slapped him in the face. She felt her eyes widen with surprise. I'm so sorry. I didn't want to slap you. It's just..." And she paused. "Don't apologize," he said, instinctively smoothing his face where she felt the slap the most. "I am the one who should be apologizing. And by the way, I'm so sorry, Tessa. I assure you, I have never done anything like this before in my life. I just get caught up in the moment, the rush of emotion that I felt." "Don't apologize," she said. "I felt it too. It's like current. I have never felt this myself either. But nevertheless, it's not polite for you to just walk up and kiss a stranger, the first person you have just met." And guys, this is where we leave you for today in the video. And don't be afraid, like I said, to share your thoughts. And by the way, what had happened to Ben? And who is Tessa? And don't you find it strange? And all of a sudden, Ben is kissing this young lady that he only met a minute ago. Guys, listen. I can't wait to get into the rest of the story in the next video. So, to have reached the end of this video, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so as yet. And thank you all for coming in. The thought for today is, if in life you're going through something and it seems way too much for you to even comprehend, and you may be feeling that how can God do this and where is God in the situation, just know that God will not give us more than we can manage. And also, it did said in the good book, in everything to give thanks. So like I always said, Philippians 3 verse 13, I can do all things through Christ who strengtheneth me. So you may feel as if you just can't manage, but definitely just be hopeful and trust in the Lord, because He have given you that strength to persevere.